Welcome to this deep dive. Today we're tackling something really interesting that seems to be bubbling up in the tech world. Is our love affair with, hyper-personalized, algorithm-driven content starting to sour.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll be looking at the current state of TikTok's incredibly powerful algorithm and this surprising counter-movement we're seeing. Things like dumb phones and just, well, a broader turn back to more offline engagement.
Exactly. We've got some fascinating insights to unpack, mainly drawing from a recent Tech Unveiled podcast script. Our aim is to kind of connect the dots for you, the listener, and really understand the forces that might be reshaping how we interact with our digital lives and, the whole tech landscape.
Okay, so let's dive right into the heart of it. TikTok's algorithm. I mean, for a long time, it felt like this unseen force that completely dominated our online experience, didn't it?
Oh, totally.
This thing managed to hook, what, a staggering 1.7 billion users
Yeah.
by serving up content that felt like it was reading your mind?
Yeah, and what's truly remarkable about its initial success was just how quickly it learned. The source we're looking at used a great analogy. It could figure out what kind of videos you wanted even faster than, like, a pizza app learns your favorite order.
Oh, right.
That super rapid understanding of what users liked, that was fundamental to its explosive growth.
Absolutely. And who hasn't experienced that almost eerie feeling?
Yeah.
Suddenly you're deep in some niche corner of TikTok watching endless videos about, I don't know, underwater basket weaving.
Right. It felt like digital ESP sometimes.
Totally. But the question we're exploring today is that magic starting to lose its shine a bit?
That's the crucial question, isn't it? And what the source material hints at is that the algorithm's seemingly unbreakable grip on our attention might be facing some new challenges. We're starting to see signs that maybe the initial hold it had might be weakening.
Right. One of the key issues being raised is this idea of algorithm fatigue. Have you ever found yourself scrolling through TikTok and feeling like, ugh, I'm seeing the same trends, the same jokes, the same everything over and over again?
Yeah, definitely.
Like the algorithm learned us so well, it kind of got stuck in a loop of its own making, you know?
That feeling of endless repetition, well, that could certainly contribute to decreased engagement. The source mentions a 2023 Wall Street Journal study that reportedly indicated a dip in the average time users were spending on the app.
Hmm.
Now, we should always be cautious, about drawing huge conclusions from just one study, but it does suggest a possible shift in user behavior.
And it's not just about being slightly bored, is it? There's this concept of algorithm exhaustion, that feeling of being genuinely overwhelmed by this constant stream of intensely curated content. It's almost like being force-fed exactly what someone thinks you want, and, well, it can become suffocating after a while.
Precisely. And the source brings in an important perspective here from mental health advocates like Dr. Anna Lembke. He talks about these dopamine-driven feeds potentially having a negative impact on our ability to focus.
Right.
Essentially, that constant stream of new stuff triggers our brain's reward system, makes the app super engaging, yeah, but maybe affects our attention spans long term.
It makes sense. You get that little hit of dopamine with each new video, and suddenly, bam, you've lost an hour.
Exactly.
And then there's the content itself. The script highlighted how the pressure to chase trends on TikTok leads to this flood of copycat videos.
Yeah.
That can leave creators feeling really frustrated.
Yeah, I bet.
One creator even said they felt suffocating under the pressure to just follow whatever was popular that week just to get seen.
That feeling of creative constraint, that's a significant issue. If creators feel they can't experiment or, express their unique ideas because the algorithm just favors predictable trends.
Then the content gets stale.
Exactly. It could lead to a decline in truly original, captivating stuff, which then feeds back into that user fatigue we were just talking about.
And let's not forget, TikTok isn't operating in a vacuum right now.
Nope.
The source reminds us that platforms like Instagram Reels are right there, competing for our eyeballs. It's not like if you're tired of TikTok, you have nowhere else to go. Makes you wonder if TikTok's position, at the very top might be getting a little less secure, a bit wobbly, maybe.
That's a critical point. Users feeling that algorithm fatigue or feeling creatively stifled, they do have other options for their online time and attention. The competition in social media is just intense.
For sure.
And if TikTok doesn't evolve somehow to address these user frustrations, well, we might see people increasingly looking elsewhere.
Okay, so we're seeing some potential cracks in the armor of TikTok's algorithm.
Oh.
Let's switch gears to something that might seem, I don't know, completely out of left field. The surprising resurgence of dumb phones.
Mm.
These aren't the smartphones we're all glued to. In fact, as the script playfully puts it, they're like the grandkids of those classic brick-like phones. You know, the Nokia 3310. Maybe you even had one.
Oh, I remember those. Indestructible. But what's truly remarkable about this trend is the data. The source cites a significant report from Gartner, they're a well-respected tech research firm, showing a 20% jump in dumb phone sales just in the past year.
20%? Wow.
That's a substantial increase. It suggests this isn't just a tiny group of, like, nostalgic tech minimalists.
Exactly. And the reasons people are making this switch seem really telling. The script shared a direct quote from a Reddit user, an offline warrior, who just said, "I needed to live life, not record it." That really hits at a core motivation here, doesn't it?
That quote beautifully sums it up. It's this desire for a fundamentally different kind of engagement with the world around us. It speaks to a conscious decision to prioritize, direct real-life experiences over the constant need to document and consume digital stuff.
And these modern dumb phones, they aren't just relics, though I'm sure some people are dusting off old Nokias.
Probably.
But the script mentions devices like the light phone, too. These are specifically designed with very limited functionality, mostly calls and texts, and intentionally lacking social media, email, all those other digital distractions.
Right. These devices represent a very deliberate choice to minimize distractions, to remove the temptation of those addictive apps. The source frames it as a detox movement with a clear focus on basically less screen, more serene.
Less screen, more serene. I like that.
It's a very conscious opting out of the hyper-connected aspects of modern life.
But it seems this desire for a less digitally saturated life goes beyond just our phones. The script talks about a broader analog uprising, which I find really fascinating. It's not just about choosing a simpler phone.
Exactly. If we connect the dots here, the rise of dumb phones seems to be part of a larger cultural shift. The source gives some pretty compelling examples, and data points too. For instance, physical book sales, reportedly booming, up 5% in 2023, according to NPR.
In a digital world, that's kind of huge, right?
It really is. You'd think with e-readers and everything, physical books would be fading, but maybe the opposite is happening.
And it's not just older generations clinging to paper either, apparently.
Indeed. Another surprising stat highlighted. Paper planners are actually outselling digital calendar apps among Gen Z. That's according to the New York Times.
Wow, Gen Z, okay.
Yeah, it suggests a desire for more tactile, intentional ways of organizing our time, even among folks who grew up totally digital.
And then there's this growing trend of digital Sabbaths. People intentionally carving out periods, like a full 24 hours, to completely disconnect
Yeah.
from everything digital. It's like people are recognizing a real need for regular breaks from the constant digital noise.
This intentional disconnection, it really underscores a growing awareness of how constant connectivity impacts our well-being, our focus. As the source quotes author Cal Newport saying, "Attention is the new currency."
Good quote.
And it looks like more and more people are consciously choosing to cash out and reclaim their attention spans.
So this all leads to a big question. What are the potential ripple effects of these trends for the big players in tech? Particularly a giant like TikTok. If people are getting algorithm fatigue and actively seeking less digital ways of living, what could that mean for their strategies?
Yeah, this raises a really important point about the future direction for these tech companies. For TikTok specifically, the source suggests, well, a potential need to reevaluate its strategy.
How so?
Maybe putting a greater emphasis on the quality and depth of content rather than just focusing solely on maximizing endless scrolling and those engagement metrics that might be necessary to keep users who are feeling overwhelmed.
That makes a lot of sense. Maybe less is more in this context. And what about other tech giants like Meta, Apple? Could this growing desire for more mindful tech use influence how they design their products?
The source touches on this and mentions the possibility of these companies increasingly adopting ethical design principles. We're already seeing features like focus mode and screen time limits being built into operating systems, right?
Yeah.
And these kinds of user-centric tools, the ones that help us manage our technology use rather than being managed by it, well, they could become even more prominent.
So while the script rightly emphasizes, look, TikTok is still massive, huge user base, not disappearing overnight.
Definitely not.
The underlying message from users seems pretty clear. There's this growing desire for more control over our digital lives, for technology to genuinely serve our needs, not the other way around.
Absolutely. The balance of power might be subtly shifting. Users are becoming more conscious, more intentional about how they choose to engage with technology, and that could create demand for more user-friendly, maybe more well-being focused design across the whole tech industry.
This has been a truly illuminating deep dive. We've explored these potential shifts happening with TikTok's powerful algorithm and this fascinating, maybe surprising counter movement towards simpler tech and embracing the offline world more.
Indeed. And it leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener, to consider. In a world where algorithms are constantly vying for our attention, what do you consider truly valuable engagement?
Hmm.
And how can you intentionally shape your relationship with technology so that it actually enriches your life rather than, consuming it?
Hmm.
That's really the fundamental question that this emerging offline rebellion seems to be asking all of us.